Eternity's Shadow by E. Thomas Canton. Copyright 2024 E. Thomas Canton. All rights reserved. No part of this book may be reproduced or transmitted in any form or by any means, electronic or mechanical, including photocopy, recording, or by any information storage and retrieval system, without written consent from the publisher. Credits. Voices by NURF.com. Sound effects from www.freesoundslibrary.com. And additional sound effects from www.zapsplat.com and pixabari.com. Music by www.zapsplat.com and IB Audio.
The religious violence in the 2 years preceding the Chancellor's death was unprecedented in the history of Elsincourt. Before the tenant, the city had been a shining icon of tolerance. However, once intolerance becomes unleashed, it becomes impossible to quell its appetite. Maximilian Nilsson. History of the Fall of Elsincourt. Fen fidgeted. She never knew what to do with herself for the week and a half leading up to the meeting with the Archbishop. Then the big day came. As we entered the train, the church's posters didn't take their eyes off us. Beneath the unrelenting stare of the gendarmes, pointing at us, stood the accusation: heretics can't hide. The Archbishop could, in fact, label us heretics because of our discovery. My pulse quickened, and my breath shortened as my anxieties took control. I knew what they did to heretics. Fen looked at the poster before turning to me. She placed her coat over my hand, slid her hand underneath, and held mine. I turned to see her beautiful smile. I breathed easier. 20 minutes later, we emerged into a wet, overcast day. We crossed the street and walked up those huge marble steps into the Ministry of Science. Passing through security, we took the elevator to the 50th floor. Both Fen and I examined the opulence of our surroundings. Gold accents assaulted us from the most random places, as if King Midas had stumbled through the lobby on a barbiturate-induced rampage. I wanted this. Not the barbiturate-induced rampage. Although, never mind. What I wanted was to be rich. I wanted to eat at the best restaurants and live in an enormous mansion with servants. My God, even the elevator had gold and mirrored-plated walls. As the elevator doors came together, my two golden reflections merged into one. I knew I had no money, but I never felt poor until we stepped out into the widest hallway I had ever seen. It didn't seem to belong, and I swear the offices on either side must have been broom closets. We looked down at the Champs-Élysées of the 50th floor. Tall, dark wooden doors at the far end dominated the corridor. They were so heavy it took the strength of both Fen and I to open them. Once we were in, the secretary had us sit while she brought us glasses of water and some year-old magazines. Why year-old? Typical office. That's why. She performed her duties with a big smile and a warmth in her voice. Either she's rewarding us for being able to open those stupid doors, or she's one secretary who loved her job a little too much. She made us feel like we were somebody. The secretary informed the Archbishop that we were there, and a few moments later, we were in his office. The Archbishop welcomed us with casual politeness. He was a larger man than I had expected, given his stated age. Not to say he looked fat or anything. The Archbishop seemed to keep himself in good physical shape. He called for some bureaucratic lackey to bring him our file. It felt weird that they had a file on us, but that might have been my paranoia. He apologized for what turned out to be a 3-hour wait by blaming the inadequacies of the bureaucracy. I believed him. I mean, 3 hours. Whoever's bringing that file must have been a complete, lazy incompetent. In the meantime, we explained to the Archbishop what we'd been up to. He took it all in with grace. And despite my reservations, I liked him. He told us about his sister marrying someone he didn't approve of when his phone rang.
It's about time. Send him in.
he said, hanging up the phone and turning to us.
I apologize for the wait.
That's all right, Your Excellency.
Fen said. I swear she is incapable of getting annoyed by anything. A man entered wearing a suit that stunk all the way to orbit, and covered in filth. It looked as if he had been rolling around in dirt for the last few hours. I presumed this to be the bureaucratic lackey with our file. The Archbishop dismissed him with a curt.
That'll be all.
He turned back to us.
So, I was never sure about him. He didn't seem like he'd make a good enough husband for her, but things seemed to work out, so I guess I was mistaken. She calls her husband her best friend.
A husband, I said. The Archbishop chuckled to himself. On his way out the door, the delivery man made some sort of disapproving expression. Or it may have been a facial tic. I don't know. I didn't have to deal with him, and that made me happy.
That was a little clever.
Thank you. You think?
A little.
Anyway,
The Archbishop said.
she's happy, and I've got a new niece to spoil. Although I wish I could go back in time and not say a couple of things that I said about him.
I'm afraid that's not possible, Your Excellency, I said, losing myself in thought. That would take a near infinite amount of power. Mind you, if we powered a time machine through the Nexus. No, not. Even then, you'd need the power of 2 Nexuses. Nexi. And only one exists in all creation.
Hello. People in the room. Again.
Fen said as the Archbishop chuckled to himself.
She does that a lot.
He said. No, I don't. Now, sometimes I get lost in my head, but I'm not that bad.
All the time, Excellency.
Fen said. What? Oh, fine. Sorry, I said. The Archbishop tapped the folder and sighed.
I was enjoying your visit. It's rare I have the time to engage in a conversation that's not government related. So, I hope you'll forgive me if I'm not upset about waiting for the file. But now that it's here, I'm afraid we must return to business. What you've been telling me about your experiment is quite remarkable. Beyond remarkable. Unbelievable is a better word.
I guarantee that everything we told you is true. It is possible to do what we say, Excellency, I said.
Not according to doctrine. And according to regulations, you're not allowed to proceed until a field agent is present.
I knew he didn't believe us. If someone had come to me and said that they could do it, I wouldn't have believed them either.
Yes, Excellency. That's why we are here. It's ready. And we would like to have a field agent come to our lab.
The Archbishop thought about this for a moment and shrugged.
An agent will come out as soon as possible.
And when